Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Brandon.
And Carrie.
Today we wanted to talk about something that's been on both our minds lately because we've had them happen to us pretty recently, which would be the subject of dreams and how they can be interpreted, how they're impacting us from the most multiple levels. So I'd like to go into a dream that I had recently, probably within the last 3 days, and it was pretty evident what was happening. Let's see if you guys get the same. I'd like to hear some replies in the comments. Well, I have 3 kids and an ex-wife, and we were in some house. This is, of course, during dream time, and there was another guy there, like a tall, slender, black-haired, goatee, glasses, skinny white guy. I assume he's like her new boyfriend or a doctor or something. I tried to shake his hand multiple times as the kids were trying to get my attention and pulling on me, this and that. I have kids, one's a teenager and two are littles, so like 8 and 6. But I'm trying to tell them that where we're at is not a good place, that it's not what they think it is, and that there's more to it. And I'm kind of going to jump from scene to scene, so bear with me. When I started to tell them that, I kept trying to shake this guy's hand. He wouldn't shake it. I'd get pulled away. I kept seeing my wife like pace back and forth, looking down with her arms crossed, with her hand on her chin, trying to like maybe think about what to say next or what to do. Very strange. Well, then the scene cuts to me in the back of this house. It seems like a beach house somewhere along the coast. And you can visualize this with me. There was like a two-story to it. So up on the first story up there were a lot of people. I'd say 30 to 50 people with pencil and notepad asking questions. I was in the sand, like standing on the sand. And to my right, there was a big fence. And they're asking me, what is it you want to tell us? We're here to take notes and find out information. And I'm saying things to like any awakened person would try and tell another person who's asleep. Like, why do you think there's 12 months in the year? Why do you think this matters? Just like little probing questions. What do you think about the Earth? Silly stuff. And I started getting some intrigue from them. And as I tried to tell them more, I kept seeing certain ones kind of change form. They would change to like it's almost like an Agent Smith effect where they kind of vibrate and then change the way they look. And as they kind of got more interested in asking questions, I then look to my left down the shoreline, and I see lots of little black dots coming along the ground, probably anywhere from 1 foot to 3 foot tall, somewhere on like what seemed like motorcycles, bicycles, little 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 motorpeds, and they're all coming towards us. And as they did, they started attacking different people and myself. And I remember, like, just fighting against them and hitting them, hurting them. They'd fall to the ground, and I would yell to the ones I had put down, like, you don't have any permission, like, no permission. I remember specifically saying, no permission. I do not consent. And then that little form on the ground would scurry away, almost dissolve away into the ocean, as it wasn't wasn't a good being, right? It's a demonic being of some sort. And after I cleared out a lot of them and pulled them down from the people that they were attacking up above, I looked in the distance and saw a really large, shadowy figure. The typical final boss type look. Very ghostly, all black, kind of smoky, red eyes, making its way towards me. And it was the only one like it. So the other ones, all the little ones, had dispersed. And as it got closer and closer, the people started yelling, "Hey, what's that? Something's coming! Um, Look out!" And as it got real close, there was like a fence on my right side of the little area I was in, and I had dodged its attack. It jumped over the fence, and at this point, I noticed at my calf and my feet there was a little black goat with white horns, probably a foot long and a foot tall, just like hitting my feet, just like an annoyance. Well, I kicked at it, and then I grabbed its horns. And while this big beast was on the other side of the fence, I knew it was going to come back. So I hid along the fence line, and my plan was to throw this little goat in its face and make a number of it. Well, it didn't pop its way over the fence or through the side of the fence between the fence and the house. Instead, I put down the goat kind of hastily. I threw it to the side, and I was kind of hiding from this thing, thinking it wasn't going to get back to where I was. And instead of it jumping, I felt its claws literally come through the fence and scratch at my back, almost like a little tickle, like a little 6-year-old girl would do to a little boy's back just to tickle him. And at that moment, I felt it so much in my spine that I woke up. And when I told Carrie about it, she was like, "Do you have a mark on your back?" I'm like, I haven't looked." Well, she said that I did, just a couple inches, like a little red mark, like a little scratch mark. And so I'm gonna let Carrie get into her dream, but what I immediately took away from that was the authority aspect of it, not only from the demonic attacks, but also from those attachments that we're trying to detach from that are still trying to reattach themselves once we have made that choice within our space. And so some of the things that dreams can be interpreted as would be like a psychic attack or your higher self, your whole self, sending you a message to do something, or they can be implants too, meaning the MK Ultras and all that mind control stuff, and through the frequencies and the black devices, that they are wanting you to think one thing and do something else, so that you do their scripting. And it's just what I took away from mine was you've got to keep standing in your power and be relentless in that. And so with that, I'll let Carrie go into her analysis of my crazy dream.
I thought it was a really good dream, really telling. Um, I think for me, it was, I know Brandon's been working really hard on detaching from attachments in this world. And of course, that occurs in a myriad of ways and depths. But I think what happens is that the closer we are to a breakthrough with that detachment and then living unattached, to where you're free to let other things be. It's the kind of live and let live scenario. So I think that this was very telling and really a testament to his progress that he's making and how hard these entities are striving to pull him right back into that web, and how he has been able to better stand in his own power and in his own true identity, not the one that's been put on him or on me or on anyone else, but to stand in that. And I think he's even seeing a little bit more about uh, perhaps the origins of the other people in his world. Uh, it may or may not be something that they ever wake up from or ever desire to leave. And I think that's something that was pretty well brought out in the Matrix movie. It's something I've had to come to terms with my own family and my desire to have all of them, wake up and see the things I see. And
Well, it's like
I,
Cypher, right? When he
yeah,
has that meeting with Agent Smith at the high rise restaurant, and he's eating the
yes,
steak. It's
absolutely,
just like that. Like
yeah,
I don't want to remember anything. I want to be a rock star, whatever it is.
right,
He
right.
was addicted to the game.
Oh, absolutely,
He couldn't see
absolutely.
further.
Well, he wanted it easy, is what he wanted. It was too hard facing the possibility of an actual death to his real body, and then being ground up and fed back to the collective. Uh, so he just wanted to be reinserted and then continue to keep playing the game. So yeah, that would be someone that's addicted to it. Um, but I think the way they took him out was to kill him off, and then they had to reinsert him, grind him up, and then reinsert him as another spirit being of some sort. So um, one thing that you were talking about was the different types of dreams, as either psychic attacks, uh, which to me, if we'll flip the script and learn to look at these not so much as attacks, I mean, they are, it's not to deplete that any, but uh, they would have no reason to be so strong in those attacks if you weren't about to make an exit, if you weren't about to be totally disconnected. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that makes me think again, Matrix, but Matrix 4, the Trinity scene in the building with all the
Yeah,
Agent Smiths guarding Neo, and she walks through the door and she's
yeah.
about to leave, and who walks in next? Her
Family.
kids and her false husband,
Hmm.
and it's back to the same thing. You
Yeah.
have to completely say, I've had enough of this.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so you have to be able to stand firm, which is what Trinity did in her, what she perceived as her true identity, in her strength, in her real power, which was being fully awakened and then rejoined uh, on that level with her counterbalance part. Um, and so I think the attacks, if we'll learn to look at them as a way of being grateful to ourselves. I'm not grateful for the attacks, but what they do reveal to us is their desperation at realizing that we're about to detach. And so they want to try to scoop up all the supper that they can. And so they pull out all the stops, everything we've detached from, knowing that it was difficult for us to do. They represent those things and in a manner that has in the past apparently worked for us to reattach, where we felt guilty about something, we had shame about something, and then a desire to go back and try to fix it and or go back in with the idea that we're going to go in there and make it a better place, or we're going to go in there and wake those suckers up. Tell you what, if they don't want to be woke up, they will not be woke up. It just will not happen. That is an imposition of my will, your will, anyone's will onto another being, which is against the universal law. And so, however, in this inversion, there's a lot of that going on, and there's different degrees of agreement, and that would be a whole nother topic. Um, but I think what's really important is that we learn to discern the source of these dreams. We can come under the dream, as in reinsert ourselves into the spell, and be all down and upset because it's a psychic attack and be mad at that thing, or we can rejoice in our own awakening that we have been awakened enough to where we're able to discern and be appreciative that I am now seeing this and I must be making really good progress or they wouldn't keep flinging poo in my face.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's discernment is I can't say enough about discernment. Of course, now I'm looking at the word DIS means to cut away from, and then CERN is right smack in the middle. This the big spellcaster itself,
Yep.
and then spell over the mind, the mental, and so the discernment of the source of the dream. So um, there were certain commonalities between what Brandon dreamed and what my dream was. Since I don't have I write my dreams down. Uh, I don't have that in front of me right now, but basically it was a scene where I was me, but not this body. It was me in a male body, uh, and in like a shopping mall. It was filled with lots and lots and lots of people at multiple levels. And all of a sudden, the whole spirit of the place, I guess, changed. The whole atmosphere changed and became very heavy, very dark feeling. There were still, light bulbs on, but it was heavy. Is probably the best way to describe it. And then all of a sudden, all of these cops in uniforms came marching in with the full array of their militarized weaponry and start rounding people up. And then the scene changed to it was, I guess, still in the mall, but it was inside of panels with that were made out of chain link fence, kind of like at the outside of the Walmart buildings and around the garden area. It was that type of fencing inside, and there were different aisleways where they were processing the people through here and arresting them. And I was watching these people, and they would go and they would uh, hold out their hands in a very straight uh, form, uh, totally open palmed, and hold out their hands so that they would have the cuffs put on them. And I'm thinking, we don't need to be doing this. And just one after one, they were doing that, and then they were sent to sit on some metal bleachers and wait there. And then they got to me, and I held my hands out in balls of fists of rage, and uh, he looked at me and he kind of rubbed the handcuff on my arm, and then he shouts out to everybody, "Well, looky here, we've got us a defiant one." And so I kept my fists clenched. Something told me to keep them clenched, and so I did. And so he paraded me around in front of the other humans that were there, and then down an aisle that had the chain link fence on both sides and a metal plank walkway in the center. And on the left hand side was lined up body after body of uniformed uh, enforcers and standing there. And so he was having me walk in front of him past them. And then we went down to another floor level where there were lots of other people sitting on the bleachers and stuff. And so he was pointing out to them uh, uh, that I was being defiant and that they needed to unclench their hands and all this and that. Well, I clenched mine tighter, and I was trying to get the people to understand that that's what they needed to do, was to stand up, and that this is how you fight back. Apparently, was by resisting. And so I was upset that nobody stood up, nobody wanted to resist anything. Um, and then it was after that point I think I woke up as my dog started barking. And what I noticed was that in both of these dreams was an appeal to other people to wake up and realize where we are. And I think that's probably pretty uh, common among those of us who have woke up, is our heart is still that others will wake up. We've got to come to a point where we realize that they can't wake up. It's not in them. They don't have the same light or same substance or the same connections to their higher selves. Perhaps is what we do. I'm just thinking, we were talking a little about our splintered selves or our shards, and how I really think it's time that we focus on calling our own shards back uh, into union, uh, not a one mind singularity like what's preached all over the world in the New Age thing.
We're not going to be assimilated.
No, at all. That's the problem. We were as assimilated, and we were made similar to something else that's far greater, which is where we came from. And I think we need to focus on um, calling again to our own selves that have been splintered off numerous times and on different levels, uh, layers or layers, LAIRS, uh, which goes along with air, and atmospheres, which goes with densities,
right.
And things of that nature. So we need to send the signal, the ripple back to our own still connected selves, those who want to go home, those who can hear the call, who have not uh, thrown in completely with the darkness. Now, there will be parts of us that choose to stay, and I think for me that interpreted the meaning behind the passage in the New Testament where Jesus is saying, if your right eye offends you, then pluck it sucker out. Or if your hand offends you, cut it off. I think that's what that means, is that if there's a part of us that's in another zone or whatever that has thrown in with what I call the enemy, they're free to stay. They don't have to go back. They've made their choice. Each aspect can make its choice. The ones who desire to go home can go home, and we will still be holiness,
Hmm.
not holy. Like everything here is whole because it's HOLE or HOLEY because it's been pierced. Everything here has been pierced, and then there's a whole thing on the Vatican that I would love to share that I got, but let's save that for
Okay,
another discussion.
not a problem. Well, guys, that's going to be it for this one on dreams and some of the feedback that we got from each other's. And I hope that you're dreaming well and standing in your own power. Some of the things that I had said in that dream specifically was, you do not have permission, and I do not give you consent.
Right.
And those, I, I've tried to lucid dream and try and be all in control of the dream, and I've questioned had I been doing that all along, just unconsciously, I guess. Well, in this one, I know what I said. I know how I presented things. I knew what questions I was asking the other individuals in the dream, and trying to help them, I guess. But anyway, I hope you guys have gotten quite a bit out of this. Stand in your power and continue on.
Clench those fists.